Howdy folks, Chris McLean back with another episode, and in the studio today I've got Lee from Margen, a lead gen agency focusing on soon be Instagram, and also from Merak-i, a full service agency. So Lee's got a couple things going on, and he also, just to get some more stuff done, he also works with some clients on growth and strategy planning. Lee sounds very, very busy, but very, very productive. How's everything going? Thanks for dropping by the show.
Thanks for having me on. As we were saying just before we started recording, it's early in the morning there. I'm based over in the UK in Sheffield, and it's 11 o'clock at night, or just going past 11 o'clock at night. So if I'm a little bit groggy or come across a little bit tired, then that's fine. But I'll keep up the energy, hopefully.
Yeah, no, appreciate you staying up to come join us here. So take us through kind of your journey to now having two agencies. A lot of people have their hands full just running one agency, but you've managed to sort of split off and create and run and manage two sort of distinct agencies. I assume they're distinct, maybe they're not, but take us through kind of your journey to Margen and Merak-i and how all of this came about for you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, going kind of back a little bit before I even went down the agency route, I used to work for F1, or a company that we used to do contracts for F1. So you used to go all over the world and kind of do that. Yeah. But then obviously having kids and whatnot, you have to be a little bit closer to home. Yeah. So then I ventured down a couple of avenues. You know what it's like when you think, oh, what shall I do next? And then you kind of go all down all these different avenues, and obviously COVID came across. So then, I started looking at. I've worked in business for many different aspects throughout the years, from business development and various other bits. And I kept going to the same thing. In order to, the one thing you need to get a business to grow or survive really is to get more business in. So, after a couple of months of kind of delving in a little bit more, I kind of understood that that's the sort of area I need to kind of study hard and, get that area perfect, because, every business needs that to survive. So, and then before I even knew it, that's kind of what I was doing. I kind of stumbled into it, not by accident, but just kind of delving through various different thought patterns, and it kept coming to, that's where business needs to generate more income by bringing in new business in order to survive. So I thought, if I get that right, I can kind of set up any other business from that. And that's where Margen came about. And then, got one client, then another, and then another, and it just kind of escalated from there, really.
Yeah, nice. And then you decided to set up a whole another agency. So do the two agencies kind of work sort of hand in hand? Are you passing business between them, or are they kind of distinct entities where you sort of got lead on one end, kind of full service delivery on the other?
Yeah, I mean, for the bulk of it, the two separate things. I mean, the Merak-i, it's a new one that's kind of still in getting the process of everything correct and stuff like that. I mean, Margen, I started, what was it, February, I think, this year. So that's been like the bread and butter, and what's kind of escalated everything else from there. And I kept getting business for a couple of agencies, because although it's lead generation, I started off working with agencies. And then rather than niching down, I kept working with, PR companies. I worked with rope access companies, digital agencies who we not only do work for, but we also end up white labeling for quite a few as well.
Right.
So it's, and that became, I thought, right, I'm bringing in a lot of business for them. And I know social media and various other bits and SEO, and I know a lot of people that do that work. So, why not set up something like that as well?
So generating those leads for yourself as well as
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of key thing from the other side is it's not just about setting something up that just for the sake of it. I know a lot of people within the industry that know what they're doing and kind of have a lot of skills, but don't really aren't really good at getting business in for themselves. So it's all about just utilizing those people and kind of partnering up and getting them work and growing my business as well at the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely can be a pretty distinct kind of skill set, like sales versus marketing. Right? Sales and marketing, you sort of look at sales and selling and that kind of closing aspect versus marketing, I guess, is your more brand and your positioning and maybe social media content side of things. That can be sort of quite a distinct sort of skill set. So lead gen sales versus marketing there. So
if with any sort of business, you need to understand sales and marketing in there, and it's one of the key skill sets for any type of business. But you can be a great programmer, you can be a great, whatever you do in SEO or whatever. If you're unable to kind of develop those skills, then your business is going to struggle, because you're going to speak to clients on the phone, and then you're going to try and convert them, and you won't have any idea of converting them over and working with them really. So it's, a lot of talent kind of falls short sometimes because of that.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting point that you're making, is that it's important to have that self-awareness, right, and understand where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and kind of patch those weaknesses with, maybe it's bringing somebody like yourself in, say like you're a specialist in lead gen and sales, and that's where I'm a bit weak, so let's bring somebody in to generate that business for us, and then we can maybe we can close it once it's warm, right? If we get those warm leads in, we can close. Or we're just really great at fulfillment, so we want that entire kind of front-end sales piece handled. But I mean, essentially it comes back to self-awareness and what am I great at? Because as you're saying, if you're going into sales calls and that sales process, and that's kind of not what you're great at, and you feel like you're not great at it, that energy comes across, right? And you can be doing more detriment to yourself than paying somebody to do that work for you and actually get more business. So yeah, it can be an interesting palming that bit of work off, because it's important, really important to have sales. Obviously, that's what gives you a business.
But it's funny, like you'll speak to some designers or anything like that, and you're speaking to them on a one-to-one, and they're open, they're energetic, they're excited, and then as soon as they know it's a sales process, or they're talking to a potential client, they freeze up, and that's
right.
They look at it as though it's a completely different. Although it is, you are trying to sell exactly what you're doing, but you're still talking to another person there. It's still. But sometimes a lot of people get it into their head that, oh no, it is a sales process, and they kind of just freeze up and panic.
It's an interesting psychology.
I think there is a lot of negative connotations sometimes with people trying to sell themselves, and they either sell themselves too short or get way too overwhelmed by the whole process and don't end up selling any of the services that they're great at, really.
Yeah, it's a really funny thing. I find sales is kind of an interesting beast. As I say, it is, you're literally just having a conversation with another human being, but you add that, there can be desperation, there can be all of this stuff that comes up around. All this stuff can come up in that interaction once you bring that sales component in. So it becomes quite an interesting space, and people that are able to sell really well, they're just amazing at that. It's definitely a skill set to develop. So, and how do you think, was it just kind of natural for you, or are you just a natural kind of people person? Why do you think you're so good in that lead gen sort of sales space?
The lead gen and the sales side are in essence two different things. I did sales for quite a few years, selling like IT to banks and stuff like that. But I've always been quite a shy and quiet person, I reckon. So although I did fairly all right in that sense, there was a big gap of doing that role, kind of going to the F1 side and doing various other bits. And then coming into this, so you started studying a little bit more, and it's not about trying to sell something. It's just about seeing what the other problems other companies have and trying to find a solution for it. And once you start going down that route, and plus as well, when you're working with many companies, you can. It's not about going after, oh, they've got some money, let's work with them. You can pick and choose and who you want to work with, and you end up getting better relationships that way. So you're not diving in saying, "Oh, I need the business. You're going into looking at what problems they've got and trying to find solutions, and then seeing if you can work with them, on that level, and try and work with them long term. So you end up being like an extra arm of their business.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the sales side of yes and no. Sometimes in some ways I have, in other ways it's it's a learning process as constantly, and same with anything that you do. You just keep trying to get better at it. And it's not about selling something for the sake of it. It's having something that you believe in, and then talking to clients that you enjoy, and you get a bit of a buzz from, and you can build a kind of relationship from there. And then you look at the problems that they've got, and then you say, right, can we help? And if we can't. If we can, great. Let's look at some solutions for that.
Yeah. I think that's bang on. You want to come from that, when you come from that place of genuine care and service, and can I help you? Yes, no, rather than, as you say, like, I need to chase the money. I need some money in the bank this week, so I've got to close this deal. It's a very different sort of mentality to come from when you're coming from genuine service, and just, I guess, that we kind of talk about this sort of the diagnostic kind of doctor actually going on with you, and what I do support that or not? If it can, great. Here's what I do and how I do it. And if not, maybe I can pass you on to someone in my network, or just be upfront, say, look, I can't help you, rather than try to just bring that business in anyway and figure it out and kind of change your processes just to get that business in.
There's been a couple of times as well when I've said, look, there's no real opportunity there, or we can't do anything, or for whatever reason it's not transpired. And then a couple of months down the line, they kind of get back in touch, or you send them another email, or pick up the phone and get see how they are, and you find there's more business that way, because they've appreciated your honesty. And
it's a funny thing, isn't it? You genuinely care about people, you build genuine relationships, and you sort of build this long-term kind of pipeline of business, rather than trying to close people out on every sale. Sort of just have a natural human conversation that, as I say, comes from this place of genuine care and support. It's a really good way to build a business. But it can be
consistent, be genuine. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah. So take us through in terms of lead gen. You say you sort of generally focus on kind of cold email and sort of LinkedIn, and you're moving into Instagram soon. Is that sort of the main three places that you operate? And sort of why is it those places?
Well, the personalized cold email, which is super hyper targeted. It's all B2B, really. The Instagram side is kind of an experimental thing that I've gone down for, just the learning process to kind of get an idea of how B2C works in comparison to B2B, because we're great at B2B, but kind of going down the Instagram side, it's not something that we sell, but it's something that I'm delving into to kind of just out of pure interest, I think. But with Margen itself, it's hyper targeted, personalized email, LinkedIn prospecting, copywriting for getting the most extrapolating the most detail that we can from customers that have their own mailing list, for example, and just trying to utilize those channels so they get the most out of it, rather than just having all that data sat there and not making any use of it. Because some companies are great at building up an email list, for example, but just don't use it.
Yeah, build it up and then never speak to them, never send an email out. Yeah. It's amazing though. There's a gold mine sitting there that businesses don't tap into. Which seems crazy. It seems sort of crazy to suggest that people still do that or don't do that in 2021, understanding how rich email lists can be, but it still happens.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the time, I mentioned on it before, that there's the consistency behind it. So some companies will have this email list, or they'll try, whatever avenue to try and get business, and they'll just try it briefly and once, and then they'll pass that idea on. It's like, oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So they'll have this email list sat there, and they'll send like 1 or 2 emails every 6 months, and nothing comes of it. And you've got to you've got to formulate it in a way that resonates with your audience, but you've also got to be consistent with your outreach and what you do. And if you're not, then you will just send out the odd email and not ever get a response from it.
Yeah, so not something. I guess it comes back to how would you interact with friends, right, or someone that you liked, or how would you build a relationship? Am I going to call you every 6 months and expect you to remember me or like me or trust me? If we're having a regular bit of banter and some conversation over time, and it's sort of consistent. It's the same rules that apply, really, doesn't it? As building a personal relationship is building it through email.
Yeah, people are people, and you got to keep those connections flowing. If you don't, they just kind of fizzle off and die.
Yeah, very, very true. So on the other side of things, for service side, what are you doing over that side of thing? Are you servicing the same types of clients, and then sort of what are you leading with over there in terms of, is it paid ads? Is it organic? What sort of services are you running over that other side?
With Merak-i, we go delving into paid ads and SEO at the minute. Okay. There is other areas down the route that we will be doing, but at the minute it's just purely those two.
Yeah. And you have a team that's supporting you on this? Is it just yourself? Have you got a remote team? Are you sort of building teams in both those businesses? What's your sort of team setup look like at the moment, and sort of going forward? What's the dream?
At the moment, it's just myself, and then obviously I sub out work depending on what work it is. So if it's like first line writers, if it's other bits and bobs for SEO, whatever, I sub that out. I do all the sales and so forth for Margen and things like that. Future, once COVID and everything kind of passes over, then it'll be building a team up in Sheffield, which is where I live. I'd still use remote workers because I've got SEO team in Canada, I've got first line writers in Canada, I've got copywriters Canada and USA, London, kind of all over the board, really.
Yeah, right.
So it's still utilizing them, but then also building up a team in my home city as well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's pretty cool that you can work that way these days, and so the internet gives us that capability that you can literally have team all over the world and get all the stuff done and just sort of manage it from the central location. It's pretty cool that you can build a business that way these days and have basically you pick of the bunch of really good talent. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and especially the industry we're in, it's not about being in an office 9 to 5, and I don't think that model works for a lot of companies, but still they utilize it. The good thing about businesses like agencies, although it's it's a service-based industry, agencies just the name that's kind of taken over for that side, really. But it's just about picking the cream of the crop, really. And you can do that wherever in the world, and you work with them on a project basis. And for not for everyone, but for some people that works 10 times better. Some people just like the routine of going into an office and getting paid by the hour. Some people like getting paid for the project and kind of working from wherever they want. It's that's the beauty of this. You can do either or. It's entirely up to you. You build a business how you want to run it, really.
Yeah. I think that's the really interesting thing. But obviously, the last 18 months or so has been very interesting for that space and seeing that kind of distributed, diversified workforce. And a lot of people now just don't want to go back to offices because they feel like they're more productive and effective working from home. They've dropped commutes. Their meeting times have dropped down because they can just jump on quick Zooms. There's a lot of positivities that have come out of that in terms of just efficiency and productivity. But
I was having one of the clients that I do lead generation for. She's a business coach, and she helps kind of like CEO level within organizations kind of get the best out of their teams within the organization. And she was hitting on some interesting points that especially with COVID, like, a little bit kind of behind COVID, but it's with COVID and the way it's kind of all happened, it's kind of put employees at the forefront now, that they're dropping out of businesses left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
Simply because they're reassessing their life, they're reassessing kind of what's going on, where they are in life, and in quite a lot of industries, people are leaving by the drones because people are reassessing what they want to do, and and the position now is in the employee's hand and not the employer's, and I think that's amazing, because it's you get a lot more people doing exactly what they want to do, but it kind of flips the industry on its backside, really, and changes everything.
That's it's really, really interesting perspective that there's a much bigger shift that actually. And I think that's probably happened on both sides, where people have realised that they're actually much happier working from home and spending a bit of extra time with the kids, or just not having to commute anymore, or all that kind of positive uptick that they've had. And on the business side, companies have realised they don't need 1,000-person office space and all the overheads, and people, their people are just as effective, if not more effective and productive, working from home, because they do have that. Whether it's buying back that couple of hours of commute time, there's less distraction, there's less going on when they're just working from. Actually, the video and effectiveness is sort of can definitely be an uptick. So it's a very, very interesting time. It's sort of forced people, like you said, to kind of reconsider, like, how do I want to work, and what do I want to do, and what industry do I want to work in, and very, very interesting times.
I mean, we're talking about working in the office and kind of remote working and stuff like that, and a lot of people don't really calculate how many hours they do for traveling for work every year. They forget that. But if you're doing like 3 hours, 1, 2, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, that adds up, and that's a lot of time you end up kind of losing. Really, you don't really put that into your salary thought process. It's crazy. But
it's a lot of hours.
Like, change always comes, and people always go, "Oh, it's changing." But that's the beauty of the way the world works. Things change. I mean, look at the internet, for example. That everyone's like, "Oh, it's killed the high street," but that was always going to happen anyway. But some companies adapted to it and kind of adjusted their model. Other companies got left behind, and the world changes. You either adapt and get excited of where it's going to go, or you sit there and kind of worry or moan, and you get left behind, really, in a sense. And it's one of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you're in one of two camps. You just go, right, let's adapt and evolve and kind of understand where things are going and prepare ourselves for that. Or I said, bitch and moan and complain about it and go out of business.
You've
got two options.
Change is good. It's exciting. It keeps you on your toes as well. Keeps you moving and kind of wondering where it's going to go, and that's the interesting thing, really. In my opinion, at least. The only constant is change. So anything that's always the same as business is always evolving. So you always need to have that agility and that adaptability, or it's very easy to get your doors shut down, and it's going to, particularly in this environment, it's much more volatile than it's ever been. So important stuff to understand. Awesome, Lee. Thank you so much for dropping by, mate. If people want to find out more about you and continue the conversation, or get some lead gen done, or just connect with you, where are the best places for them to come and find you? Probably LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a good one. Twitter, I'm on there every day. I could probably. I used to use it a lot, and I kind of use it a little bit less. But every day I'm on there. Or on my Margen.net, you can book a meeting and we can chat from there.
Cool. Awesome. And I'll drop those links in the show notes so that the folks at home can click on those and go get connected with Lee. Mate, I appreciate you staying up super
Thank
late.
you so much for
I'll
having me on. I appreciate that.
let you pack it in and get some rest and get ready for your big day tomorrow. But yeah, thank you so much for staying
Thank
up
you for
and
having me. I appreciate that.
swinging by. It's been a really good conversation. I'm sure everyone at home's enjoyed it. Appreciate you swinging by. Yeah, thank you for taking the time, and thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.